So firstly, a very warm welcome to everybody, a very good afternoon, and welcome along to our Business Spotlight interviews. My name's Ron Maycock. I'm the owner of Action Coach Castleford and also Business Performance UK. And I'm delighted to be joined today by a trio of business leaders. Just to introduce them, we've got Shaun Blenkin from Switch Networks. Very good afternoon to you, Shaun.
Afternoon.
Hi, great to have you with us. We've got Richard Coulthard, who is from Easton and Harrison.
Afternoon, all.
Afternoon. And also Emma Easton, who is from Strand Recruitment. Very good afternoon,
everyone.
Hi, it's great to have you all along. So you might notice that the format's a little bit different in that we've got three different businesses, and we're going to get to the reason how these people are connected, why they're connected, and go through a little bit more about what the commonality, what the common ground is actually as we go through it. And we will be hearing obviously a lot more from Shaun, from Richard and from Emma in a few moments. Before we did that though, I really just wanted to explain what the purpose of these interviews is. We're surrounded by some brilliant businesses in our region. They've each got their own journeys that they're on, and they've each got their own stories, successes, and these interviews actually help us share some of those accolades, some of those successes that they're actually having. But more importantly, it's all done in the name of abundance. So we can actually share their journeys, increase awareness, and make people more aware right away across the UK of how wonderful some of these businesses actually are. So without further ado, I'm going to start on my screen. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but on my screen, I'm actually going to start with Shaun. So Shaun, you just want to introduce Switch Networks and yourself.
Yeah, okay. So Switch Networks primarily a VoIP and infrastructure company based in North Yorkshire. We specialise in installing VoIP solutions, connectivity such as lease lines, FTTP, and we've got a very experienced team of data engineers, fibre engineers working on multiple projects up and down the country.
Fantastic, excellent. Well, it's great to have you with us this afternoon. And Richard, do you want to introduce Easton Harrison?
Yeah, so Richard Coulthard of Easton Harrison Solicitors. We're a full-service law firm based in 17 offices around Yorkshire. I head up the firm's commercial services, so predominantly I advise businesses on, protecting their business, growing their business, and succession planning. But as a firm, we're full service, so everything you can think of in terms of legal services, we can help with.
Fantastic. And again, great to have you with us. And finally, and last but not least, Emma, do you want to introduce yourself and Strand?
Yeah, so I'm Emma Easton, the MD of Strand Recruitment, and essentially what we do are talent hunters. So we will go out and find some exceptional talent for businesses in Yorkshire and London. Primarily, we focus on accountancy, so finance candidates, as well as we've got a vertical market of telecoms, HR advisors. But essentially, we add value by taking the sting out of the recruitment process, making it as streamline as possible, by introducing video CVs, but also just really getting people that want to share a journey with and buy into the core values of a business, and therefore you get longevity out of the placement.
Fantastic. And for want of describing you as a motley crew of three very unique different industries and sectors, I'm a little bit intrigued, and I'm going to go to Richard. So how do you all know each other? Do you do business together, or where's this stem from?
So I think for where it started, I suppose, it's from networking. Emma and I have known each other best part of 8 years. Shaun, we've known each other a couple of years now, and Ron probably about the same. So we're all part of a networking community, a business community. But then from there, we've become clients of each other, and ultimately, I'd say friends of each other. Actually, we've got to know each other, and business is about doing. People want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust, and we've developed those relationships over a series of years, and know our businesses and indeed our respective client bases very well, and that ultimately leads to a situation where we have trust and confidence in referring each other. So yeah, it starts with networking, become clients, and then become friends, not necessarily in that order, I suppose.
Very, very interesting. You use the F word in there. You know, describing people as friends in business, and you know, and this is something that comes from the self-proclaimed king of sales, a guy called Jeffrey Gitomer, who actually says, you know, all else being equal, we want to do business with people that are our friends. All else not being equal, we still want to do business with people who are regarded as our friends. And it goes a little bit deeper than just knowing of people. We get to know much more about them on a personal level and everything like that. And I think that is really important. So you said we'll get back to it being sort of networking. Shaun, I'm interested, by the sound of it, you've known Richard and Emma for a little bit less time, but you came across them through networking, which is a marketing strategy. Until you started doing the networking, what other strategies were you actually doing, and how does it stack up as a strategy for a telecoms based business?
Yeah, I mean, as it's been mentioned, I'm relatively new to the whole networking experience. You know, it wasn't something that I did probably like just after lockdown. Obviously, it was actually a conversation with yourself that we had one, and you suggested that I come along and have a meet with these guys. But before that, everything we did was based on word of mouth. So recommendations from customers was our biggest source of income, and referrals. Obviously, there's only a limited way that you can go with that. At some point, you've got to go out and start looking for other ways to generate more business, simply than doing good jobs for people and getting recommendations off the back of that.
And done well, word of mouth, working on testimonials,
Absolutely,
working on recommendations, things like that. Great strategy. I would direct people along that route. First and foremost, every time, it's got to be your first route to expanding your reach, based on the good work that you've already done for other people. It is interesting, though, that it does have perception over limitations. There's only
this
so
just
far
becomes
that you can take
an
that.
extension of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
You know, because doing a good job for these guys or their clients that they recommend or refer to us gives them the confidence to then continue to recommend to as well.
But I would also say that it kind of trickles into those third party opportunities. So, for example, you know, Shaun referring me to one of his clients, I do a really great job. That client then forgets about Shaun and passes me on to other clients. It becomes a relationship that we're building. So it kind of, you know, forges an abundance of relationships, and that business community grows organically. But without that initial nudge from Shaun, would I have had that same opportunity? Arguably not, because, you know, especially in recruitment for myself, it is competitive. I'm a competitive person, so I don't mind that. But I think it stands me aside because someone that Shaun, you know, Shaun's client trusts Shaun to introduce only good people. So that's my leverage and my way in. And then I've got to continue with that baton of good trust and do a really great job and deliver on the service element. And then it creates that natural flow of that client passing me on to somebody else. And if you do, you know, if you take pride in what you do, and you're good at what you do, and all the bits that are in your control, you do really, really well and deliver on that service, then people naturally want to kind of recommend you to other good businesses in the region. And before you know it, you know, that community just, you know, grows to a really good place. And I think that's what I've experienced over the last 8 years. It's no longer forced. I don't, you know, we welcome Shaun with open arms, we welcome everyone with open arms, but there's always that opportunity to test somebody. And if they do a great job and they're coming from a really good place, then, you know, it becomes so easy to refer them on to other people, you know, without saying too much. It's just a case of saying, have a chat with Shaun, you know, with regards to your telecoms, or have a chat with Richard. If you've got that problem, you know, I know that Richard or someone in his firm will take really good care of you, you know, and I can give them a huge amount of examples of where, you know, Easton Harrison have looked after my clients and, you know, and recommended them on the back of that. So
I think it goes
Richard,
beyond
I was going to
just.
come to you. I mean, you've been doing this for what, 8-9 years in this kind of environment. So
Yeah.
did you go into this with formal expectations? Do you review those expectations, Richard, or are you
Probably not initially.
Or just meeting people?
I think initially when someone starts networking, wherever you are in your business journey, it can be a little bit daunting if you've not done it before, and some people adapt to it more naturally than others. I think you start to set yourself expectations. The more you get into it, the more you get used to it. But I think what's different probably about our business community, and actually, but there's loads of studies on this, is that giving people referrals, helping other people makes you feel good. I think it's called reciprocal altruism. There's all sorts of studies on it, things like that. But actually, we want to help our business community, whether that's Emma, whether that's Shaun, whether yourself, Ron, or other people. It absolutely starts with doing a great job, and there's no substitute for doing a great job for people. But actually, I look at it actually, I want to help other people, regardless of whether there's something in it for me, because it will ultimately come around. Actually, if I'm building relationships, if I'm helping other people win business, they're going to keep me in mind. Emmy, obviously you've said about the work you referred to us, and we've done loads of business over the years. Likewise, I'm always trying to push Emma into our client base, because I know how that she can give them access to talent, to people, and understand their business in a way that I've not necessarily seen other recruiters do. But that comes out of know, like, and trust, and building those relationships ultimately. So to answer your question, I didn't start with any expectations, but had I started with expectations, I could say without a doubt that they would have been by far and away exceeded wherever I would have thought that they would have been, because the work that we generate out of referral-based marketing and networking is huge quantities, but that comes from understanding and getting to know and helping other people, and not necessarily approaching networking from a self-centered place of what can I get out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's interesting because there's lots of different networking models out there. You don't have to look too far these days to find things, whether they be online, face-to-face, whether they be a certain format, a certain structure. I suppose using the first area that we all got together was actually through the BNI model. In terms of networking generically, though, Emma, what degree of networking you're actually doing? How many different networking things or communities are you part of? Because that's what it's all about. It's about.
Do you know what? I class it as there's loads of opportunities out there, and I enjoy meeting people first and foremost, and hearing about their businesses. It gives me a buzz, hearing about different opportunities and what people are doing and what they're trialing out and their successes. But networking, I've always taken the traits that have been trained within BNI to every networking event, which it starts with giving, it starts with listening to other people, because through that you're showing that actually you might be able to help them. There may be opportunities, there might be just general advice, but it might also be connecting people, and that's what it comes down to. So whatever badge you put on networking, BNI has taught me some phenomenal disciplines that I have carried on to other networking events. So super grafters, other things that we kind of get involved in here and there. But there's opportunities everywhere, and that's what BNI's taught me. Whether it's in sports, social groups, and other local smaller business, sort of smaller community groups, whatever it is, there's loads of opportunities to help people in business. You don't have to be the MD to appreciate that someone's passing you some business. You know, you don't, you know, whether that's because you're a salesperson for that business, or whether that's just because you're an administrator or someone that works associated with that business. If you're able to bring some additional work to the table, then, you know, kudos to you, and us, and everyone would be grateful for it. So for me, the structure that BNI has taught me that, yes, you can make this work with a cocktail of actions. The outcomes are there, and it's proven the formula works. But what the success is really about the people. I'm a people person, and I believe that when you place someone in a business, you've got to really look at their culture and what they're looking for to make it successful. Same with networking. So, you know, we're really fortunate that we're bringing to the table and opening opportunities for businesses that we already think a lot of. So if we're inviting you to join or inviting you to come along as a guest to our meetings, because we believe in you, and it may be that actually it's not for you, it's not your cup of tea, but actually those opportunities could still happen, and those, you know, kind of opportunities to do extra business could still happen. So I think that's a gift in itself, and I'll always remember the person that invited me along to kind of as a guest in the first instance.
I think that's a really important point there, Ron, and Emma, which is we do lots and lots of networking and lots of different environments and lots of different structures or brands or however you want to term it. It ultimately does come back to the people that you're with, the people that are in the room, because that's the strength of any group, whether it's BNI or whether it's something else or whatever. What I think BNI differs is actually the training and the way that it sort of almost coaches you to approach networking is a little bit different, and that it is, as Emma says, it's about giving, and actually you know, that training and that knowledge base you can apply in other groups. But regardless of where you network, regardless of, as I said, what framework that's under, what brand that's under, or whatever, it is ultimately about getting the right people for your fit. And certainly within, you know, within this group and things like that, there's some really great referral partners that have great synergy with each other. So I think that's the most important thing I would take away from it.
And Shaun, you've been in this group for less amount of time, and your business, albeit that it's not trades but works with certain trades and things like that, how are you finding this particular group of businesses and group of business owners? You know, does it meet what you want? Is it very trade orientated? Is it just professional services? Is it just full of people who are great at connecting you to whoever you might need to talk to?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was just going to add to the other one. You know, don't have any preconceived thoughts about the group and what it is when you're thinking about networking with BNI, because it's given me so much confidence and so much training to go out and then join other groups of networking. So BNI has actually been the springboard that has pushed me on to doing more of this. But in terms of where we sit in the group, and yes, we primarily are a trades oriented business, but people like Richard and like Emma are referring us into businesses that, you know, just lost train of thought. You don't need to be referred to by others' trades. You know, Richard could refer me into another accountant, a solicitor that needs some networking doing. So it doesn't have to be an electrician in your group, a plumber in your group that's going to refer you. Other professional services will quite easily be able to find you good referral partners that you wouldn't get from trades as well, because they're speaking to other people within the company. They're speaking to the MDs, to the CEOs, or the operations managers that can get you into these opportunities.
I think it's really important to think with all networking, doesn't matter where you go, it's very rare the opportunity or the wider opportunity is sat in the room at the time with you. Networking for most people, as Richard said, there's lots of different structures and formats, and and infrastructure of how we actually do this. But the one commonality is the wider opportunity is who are the people connected to. And if you can surround yourself with well-connected businesses, it doesn't matter what they do, because they're connected to, well, the old adage is everyone in business is closely connected to 100 people. So if there are 100 people connected, there's 10,000 straight away. So it's broadening that reach by association, I guess, and that's an important thing. So I mean, obviously we're all together as part of a B&I chapter. It certainly in my experience of B&I chapters and other ones, we're probably the most professional services orientated one I think I've ever come across. We're not very trades heavy, and certainly when I first got introduced to B&I a few years back, that was one of the preconceived ideas that I had about that this was low level. It wasn't business owners, it was people representing companies. And this probably dates back 15, 20 years ago or something from, I think it used to be called Network Central at some point, or whatever it was. I don't know, it had a completely separate name or whatever, before it was even called B&I. So in your experience, and probably starting with Emma, what are the preconceived ideas that you hear often of why people go, oh no, clearly this isn't right for me? And what would you say to dispel those sort of preconceptions?
Yeah, I think probably the one common one would be, you know, oh, actually, I don't like the idea of having to bring, you know, a contribution or referral or piece of business every single week. How would I possibly find the time to do that? And I suppose, do you know what, it comes so naturally with some support and you know, in the training that we offer, that actually it's a joy to do. It really is. It doesn't become a pressure. And you know what, sometimes it might start off like that, and that's fine, because that pressure, you know, that everyone else is feeling is in that same boat, and they're trying to find you something, you're trying to find them something. But actually, with a few simple questions, you're actually supporting your clients. You know, I always ask clients, where you spending, you know, where you spending your budget. Now that's a natural conversation for me to have, because often we're chatting about, you know, recruitment. So naturally we're talking about budgets and spend. And so it just kind of, it's a conversation that, you know, the conversation would lead itself to that anyway. But, you know, and it's as simple as those kind of questions. But also, you know, I think by building great relationships with your clients, they come to you for recommendations on people. You know, gone are the day where you will always go to your accountant for a bit of advice. You actually go to your business community more often than not now, you know, and you ask them, oh crikey, I'm having a problem with this, or actually, you know, a natural one that my clients will talk about is we've got a few acquisitions on the table now, so we need to strengthen our accounts department, or we need to do something else. That is great because it's a piece of business for myself, but also it's brilliant for Richard, you know, and even yourself, Ron. Right, great. So what's your management structure going to look like? Those kind of things happen. And that's, you know, you're building a relationship, not just on your service with your client, but with your client on trust and the people that you can introduce them to that will safeguard them, you know, and an FD Googling what kind of an accountant, or if they need external accountant support to do due diligence, or if they need you know, practice, a firm of solicitors that is strong when it comes to acquisitions. Yeah, you don't want to Google something like that. You want someone that, you know, can wholeheartedly recommend you, and they recommend you on the basis that it's a, you know, you would use them, you've used them before, and you trust them, so you know they'll get along. And on that credibility that you've built with your clients, you're passing that baton on. So actually, it comes super easy, and I could go on about it forever, Ron. You're going to first name me now. But
yeah, that's very interesting there, Ron.
It's how you do it.
I give away all my interview tricks and tricks of the trade and everything like that. Shaun, I'm going to pose the same question. So you came into this self-confessed a little bit nervous. I know your personality, which surprised me when you went, I'm not very good at, or I'm not very comfortable getting in front of other people and highlighting what we do, because you're outgoing, you get on with everyone that I've ever met, and it did surprise me. But what are the preconceptions that you either carried in or have heard from other people that you, and what would you say to sort of dispel those?
There's a couple that sort of ring true. What I thought is, one was time commitment. Having to do this, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever, depending on the size of the group, every week. But if you're trying to increase your business, and everybody's return on investment plan is different, but if you're going 10 times, 20 times, 30 times your ROI of putting in, or even more, then if you can't commit to an hour and a half a week or 2 hours to get that extra revenue in there and that extra business, then are you really interested in growing your business if you aren't willing to put the time in? You've got to put the effort in, you've got to put the time in. And you think the meetings are going to be really formal because that's what you hear. You've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. But realistically, everybody in the group is so friendly, so helpful, so supportive that the formality goes out the window. Yes, there's a structure that we have to follow, but that's just to follow. The rest of it, our personalities come across, as you mentioned before. We all think of each other as friends outside of the meeting. So, it's really helped me grow in that way, and I've learned a lot from being in BNI.
No, fantastic, and it's a great share. And same question to yourself, Richard. You've done this for a while. You'll have heard every reason under the sun of why I should, why I shouldn't. What would you say to these people?
There is no downside to being known as a connector. There is no downside to seeking to help your clients, your contacts, looking for referral opportunities, inviting them along to being a visitor, even if they say no, even if there isn't anything that you can help with. Actually, you're putting yourself in a different place to your competitors. So the biggest concern that I hear when people talk about BNI is, I don't like the pressure of having to find referrals. Well, I'd look at it a different way. Actually, A, it's not pressure, but B, you've got a room full of people who are all putting the same amount of effort in. And if we're being honest, how many networking events can you genuinely say that? I'm not sure that there is. Everyone is actively trying to help others. It's a different mindset, but it's a mindset that will help you in your business regardless. Because actually you're developing a different type of relationship with your clients, with your contacts, with your professional connections, of just being known as somebody who can help them. So similar to Emma, I get clients or contacts approaching me for something completely unrelated to legal services. It'd be like, right, actually we've got this in a situation of a business, maybe it's actually we're thinking about something different for marketing or a new website or whatever. We know that you know plenty of people. You must know someone who might be able to help with it. Well, actually, as it happens, I do. But that gives an opportunity just to speak to someone and just remind them that we're there without there being a need for legal service or whatever, just keeping that flow of conversation. So people do get concerned about trying something new. They might have perceptions, they might have concerns or whatever. I would say actually you don't know it until you try it. And then actually, between us on this call, we've probably got best part of 20 years experience, in BNI. That in itself says quite a lot. Actually, so I'd say, look, try it. It might be for you, it might not be for you, but actually the learnings that you will get out of it has value.
Excellent. No, really, really good points. I'm going to add and cement a couple of those. Given something that when it works, gives most businesses somewhere in the region of about a 2000% ROI in terms of the initial investment, the annual investment, forgetting time, because you've got to work these strategies. For something that successful, if you are going to accept other people's opinion and word of mouth rather than coming along and finding out for yourself, then shame on you, because you might be giving up the best opportunity for your business that you've ever chosen to ignore based on someone else's perception of it. But the other thing that I was going to add, and I think this for me has always been the most important thing, I don't really care if it's BNI, if it's, you know, West Yorkshire professional services, like-minded professionals, blah 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 blah. There's loads of different things. Now, when I speak to businesses and the amount of times they turn around and go, I'm a solopreneur, it's just me running the business, doing everything. And then my next question is, so talk me through who your team members are. And they go, but I haven't got any team members. I'm on my own. Now, my next question is, so who's your accountant? Who's your legal advice? Where's your recruitment come from? Who does your telephone networks? These are all part of your business team. And networking, when you build it on trust, gives you access to lots of different people who are representing your business on your behalf. Now, if that's not worth the investment of your time and your money, then again, you probably would be better served by this one bit of advice: is give up now. Save yourself a lot of pain, okay? Because it's all about having those connections and making your life easier. And if you can't see that, you're going to carry too much stress, too much burden on your own shoulders, and no one's shoulders are big enough to do this on their own. So do it with other people, do it with other connections, do it with a community, do this with your friends, and your business journey is going to be far, far more enjoyable. On that note, that's starting to bring us towards the end. Are there any areas that you'd like to, that we've not covered, that that anyone would like to sort of chip in, or have we given plenty of people lots of reasons to come along and at least find out who's in a group of professional services that might benefit them, or others, or trades, or whatever it may be? But we're all in business together. So anything to add?
I think I would just say that personally, I'm a big advocate for personal development, and I know you are, Ron, as well. I think pushing yourself potentially outside your comfort zones, actually you may learn something about yourself and about your business, and I think this forum gives you an environment where you can learn from others. It's not solely about business. It's actually, I've learned far more about recruitment over the last few years than I ever thought that I would ever want to, but actually it gives added value to me in terms of my business, actually seeing what's going on in the market and what do candidates want and things like that. Ron, things that you talk about in terms of profitability and business planning and stuff like that, and Shaun, everything that you tell me about all the scary world of VoIP and data security and all the rest of it, it's all these hidden values that you don't necessarily go to networking for, but you get anyway.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'd agree.
Fantastic. Well, that does bring us to the end. And I say it's been great having a slightly different format to this. That it's not just about promoting one business; it's about promoting a community of businesses and the power of that community and how that can help other people in the Yorkshire region. So, if you're interested in coming along, get in touch with Shaun, Richard, Emma, myself, whatever. If you want to come along to any number of networking that we're involved with, Doesn't just have to be one format, but come along, meet some people. God forbid, you might even meet them face to face as well, now that we're out of certain forced things that took most networking off, sort of online as opposed to offline. But you never know who's going to be in the room. You never know who's going to meet, who you're going to meet, and where that next business opportunity may come from. The one thing that we can guarantee is if you're not part of it, then chances are you're not going to find that next business opportunity. So hopefully we'll see you in the not too distant. If you're interested in recording a spotlight interview for your own business to highlight what you're doing, your journey, showcase your achievements, things like that, simply get in touch. When we post these interviews and these videos, there'll always be links to the snippet, the full videos on YouTube, and also how to book yourself in, so that you can actually highlight all the wonderful stuff that you're doing in the region. So just remains to thank Shaun, Richard and Emma. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope I've not been too intrusive in terms of some of the questions, but it's great to have you with us. You're still smiling, especially Emma. Richard's struggling with that bit a little bit more, but there we go. It's a Monday, so we've still got the rest of the week to go. But thanks for joining us, and thank you for everyone for watching another of our Business Spotlight interviews. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.